Hey guys, welcome back to 20s Decoded, the podcast where we discuss everything that relates to growing your career in your 20s while prioritizing your health and your social life. I'm Penelope and I'm joined by my co host Arjun. Hey Arjun, how are
Hey
you today?
Penelope, I'm doing well. How are you?
Amazing. I mean, I was supposed to have kickball today because it's the weekend, but it ended up being cancelled because of the rain. So I'm
Love to
free to
hear that you're
record.
spending some time with me. But does it normally happen? Is it like that rainy time season in SF, or today was just a one-off case?
No, to be honest, it was super sunny for the past week and it just ended up raining yesterday. So my other game was cancelled and today's game is cancelled as well because the
Ooh,
field is
that's
just
that's
too
unfortunate.
muddy.
Do
So,
you see
anyway,
when is the do you have a rain day for your kickball game?
yeah, it's basically the league is going to be scheduled just 1 week later than it was supposed to be. But I'm still sad, you know. Maybe I should consider joining a sport that does not involve being outside so that even if
Don't
it
you do like
rains, I
five
can
different
just
sports
do
already?
it. Actually, I play dodgeball, which is inside as
And
well,
then
and
lifting,
pickleball.
and then
Yeah, yeah.
there's too many things you do, Penelope.
You do a lot of steps too. You
I
climb, right? You go to the gym,
Yeah,
you run.
I unfortunately I stopped climbing. I'm not climbing as often as I used to be, but I've been trying to get back into the running game. I don't know what it is though. Like whenever I start incorporating running into my life, I stop doing any other activities. Like I'm very bad with lifting if I start running, or if I'm really bad with going doing different activities. And the funny thing is that I was talking to my roommate about this the other day, and he completely agrees as well. He stopped running for a good month or two, and then he actually became a much better climber out of it.
Yeah, that makes total sense. That makes total sense because you have a limited amount of time first, and then you can have like some concurrent training that occurs. For instance, like if you're lifting super hard and you're just like running a lot and so on. If you don't have the right kind of training, it can just like impact like those different elements. But with the right kind of training, you can actually do everything and still
I
perform
do
well at
agree,
those
but there's
sports.
something about
So
running. Like I can go climbing and I can go lifting perfectly fine, no problems whatsoever. But if you incorporate running into the schedule, it just throws everything out of balance. So like I'm still trying to learn how to get incorporate running with your lifting routine. Plus eat the amount of nutrients that you have to eat in your macros. Oh my god, don't get me started. I already see myself losing weight.
yeah, and you can also get hurt. Actually, if you do too much, you can just get hurt, and then it's a huge
Yeah, oh my god,
setback
don't get
and
me
so
started
on.
with that.
So
But like I guess that's our topic today actually, right?
yeah, yeah. Actually, that's our topic today. It's just getting hurt, getting better, and then just like getting back actually stronger than ever before. So it's a good thing that we are just discussing that. So I think that just we can give a quick intro about what we want to discuss. So we are going to give some personal stories about times where we just got hurt, um, either physically or mentally, and a few strategies that we employed in order to get back
Yeah,
stronger into
definitely.
the game.
I guess I can get the ball rolling with this one, right? And I kind of can talk about, and we'll keep the story short, and then we'll expand upon our recovery bit. But for me, I know, so I can guess I can start with a mental issue that was like not necessarily hurting me, but that inhibited me from conducting activities in my day-to-day life. I will say that like a bunch, like if you've listened to our old podcast and our old episodes, I had moved from the East Coast to the West Coast, and navigating the move was kind of difficult in terms of not being around my friends, my family, finding new activities and hobbies to do out there because you're on a different side of the coast, which is very difficult for me. Penelope, in terms of like mental issues or mental getting mentally hurt, is there anything that's happened to you?
Yeah, so I would say that it was when I was in New York. It was a very, very difficult period of time. Right after I graduated from my master's degree and when I started working, because I was actually not mentally in a good place because I did not really like my job. And physically, I was not really in a good place either because all those mental things that were happening also impacted my physique. So I was not eating enough. I was really, really weak, really underweight, and so
Yikes.
it
This
was bad.
doesn't sound good at all. How about like in terms of physical aspects, right? Have you been like physically hurt recently or and can you expand upon that a little
Yeah, actually, I was hurt not that long ago because it was exactly 10 days ago. And so it was I was doored while biking, and so I was hurt on my leg, on my arm, and so on, and I'm still suffering from that a little bit. So this one is going to be
bit?
more like, you know, live explanation of what I'm currently doing in order to just come back stronger. What about you? Did you get hurt like
Not
physically
recently. I
recently?
guess in grad school, I was trying to perfect my form in terms of deadlifting. And I kid you not, I was using a hex bar with this. I was following the exact ways that you should be doing this, and I tweaked my back slightly as I was going up with just like a plate on each side, and I couldn't walk properly. And the worst part was that I was supposed to be traveling in a week and with my parents doing a Euro trip, right? So it was not the best time to be going through that. And afterwards, I dealt with like chronic pain in my lower back. And eventually, I was able to get over it, but like going through that whole process of a nightmare, I would say.
Okay. Yeah, that really sucks. I
I
had
mean,
this
like,
one as
yeah,
well.
we go to the gym so
But
often, and we always get hurt, right?
yeah, so that was not fun. So now that we have those few stories about times where we got hurt, we can maybe delve a little bit more about the actual strategies that we employed in order to get better and come back stronger. I think that we can just say that there are maybe 3 steps into those strategies. So let's dive into the first one. The first one is actually noticing what's wrong, noticing what's wrong, and just taking a little pause before actually doing anything that can actually be counterproductive. Do you have some examples of times where you actually had
Um,
to do this kind of
yeah.
thing?
So like, I think of this like acceptance and like you go through a stage of being in denial that there is no problem, or and you have to go through that steps of accepting the problem. When I did my move, actually, I didn't realize how often I would actually go on social media to see like what people are doing online, and seeing that like instead of lying in my bed in my apartment all alone, that like okay, I could be meeting people and doing the same thing. It was very difficult, and it actually took me a good couple of weeks to months to realize this. And talking to my friends all the time back then was not like, I mean, like I would try to live vicariously through them, especially since we all graduated together. They're going out, I am not. And yeah. How about yourself?
Yeah, so for the example of the time when I was in New York and feeling really depressed and weak physically and mentally, I think that the wake up call that I had was so I was going to Equinox for for a day trial, and somebody told me, "Oh, do you want to jump on the in body machine, which is essentially, you know, the machine that calculates your weight, your body fat, your muscle mass, and so on." I had never done it before. And so I was just like, yeah, okay, let's try it. So I jumped on it, and the results were actually really shocking. I had no body fat. It was 8, 9%, which for a woman is actually really, really low, and from lot of aspects, not healthy. And so just seeing those results, it's got me out of the denial space that was everything is fine, I'm healthy, I'm eating healthy, I'm going to the gym, I'm and so on. It's just seeing those results were really shocking for me, and this was the wake up call. And from there, I was just taking a step back. and trying to assess the situation and what were the different elements that I could do in order to actually get back into the game and be my
I
healthier
like how you
self.
say this, right? So like there are like this machine had served as like a wake up call for you. For me, it was like more of self realization, and like there are other instances out there that like where friends and family actually serve as that wake up call themselves, right? They say that like what's going on with you, like why are you not like doing what you're, why don't you look happy as you normally do, or they point out like there is something wrong with you. So there are multiple forms of acceptance and like figuring out, okay, there is an issue. Now how do we resolve this, right? And I guess can you expand upon like the stages of like, okay, you've identified the problem. Now how do you take the steps to actually starting to recover and improve?
Yeah. So I think that after you've noticed the problem, or at least the challenge, um, it's all about incorporating some space in between the challenge and when you actually start acting. Because, if you start acting right away, you will probably end up just not doing the things that are the most productive or that will actually give you the best results for the challenge that you're currently encountering. So just the first step for me was really just to create some space to think about what is actually the challenge, and from that challenge, what are the goals that I want to achieve. So for me it was, okay, I'm super underweight, it's not healthy, it's not aligned with my long-term goals of just being able to live until, I don't know, 100 years old and still being able to go on hikes with my grandchildren on my back and so on. Because if I continue that way, I'm not going to be able to do it for sure. And so, knowing that, I created some space and seeing, okay, what are the different solutions that I can do for that? And the first one was actually to reach out to people who can actually help me, because most of the challenge that I'm encountering and that you will probably encounter in your life, you're not the only one with those issues. And a lot of people have solved those exact same issues before. Or if they have not solved them for themselves, there are professionals who have actually solved them for a lot of other people. So just reaching out to the right professionals and knowing that you're not going to find everything on the internet or everything in books and so on. Yes, you can gain a lot of knowledge by listening to podcasts, reading books, and so on and so on. But there is a point where you actually need to reach to professionals who know what they are doing and who can actually guide you in the right direction, either mentally or physically. You have the same kind of experience with just reaching out to professionals?
Yeah, yes and no, actually. In terms of San Diego's, about me moving to the West Coast, I saw myself being like a lot more lazy, not being able to do much because I didn't know at the time that I was like depressed, not being able to hang out with friends. So to combat this issue, I actually would got a gym membership outside of my own apartment gym, and I got a trainer at the time because they were doing a discounted a rate actually. And at the time I was not doing it just because like, oh, I need like a trainer right now to help me like improve my lifts. I was just doing it because it was like it's affordable. I was training for a Spartan race back then. I also said like I need to get out and start doing more things. So I did I booked a Spartan race, but I reached out to this professional, and outlined the issues. Like back then, I was also still dealing with the small, like still chronic lower back pain, and he told me that the specific ways to actually combat this and how to do a proper lifts as well, which was very helpful at the time. When navigating the loneliness bit, actually, when I was in San Diego, I would write down actually on a piece of paper saying, okay, what are the different events that I can do? What do I personally like to do? And where can I go do these activities? and I discovered like meetup right back then, and I saw a lot of nice like bonfire meetups, and this would be perfect because I would be able to go out in the evening without prohibiting without conflicting with my work schedule. So I felt that was really helpful in terms of realizing and combating it. I think like also like you had mentioned before, like the internet is a beautiful place to find information and do research at the time, but it is a dangerous place as well where you can get false news and false like where people will say like do this and you will be able to get abs in like 30 days, right? Like those videos out there. So I think doing the right research, reaching out to professionals like you have done done as well is like become very helpful in that regards.
Yeah, I completely agree. And it's actually, we can now maybe talk about the third step, which is know that you know what's the challenge. You've created some space. You've reached out to professionals who can help you. You
Mhm.
actually need to do the things, and you need to stick to the plan in order to actually get the results that you want. And there are maybe two parts within that, which is that the only way, for instance, when I got hurt during my bike accident, I was still able to just live my life and still go to the gym and so on. It was just that I had healthy habits in place that I was able to just stick to, and that allowed me to just be able to just hang on and not let everything fall behind. And for instance, it was just reducing the scope. Even if I was not able to go to the gym on a given day because I was really hurt, I was still able to go on a walk outside. Yes, it was not a huge workout, but it was still enough for my body to just first get some rest, but also get some movement because I wanted to have some blood flow in order to allow my muscles to recover, as well as my nervous system to just continue working, because I know for a fact that I need to have some movement into my days in order to perform well. Same thing with nutrition. I did not let everything fall behind. I did not undereat because I was not going to the gym. I did not overeat because I was staying at home. I just stick to the plan. I hit my protein target. I hit my carbs and fats target and so on, just because I knew that my body needed those nutrients in order to be able to recover from the accident. So just by having those very simple life habits that you can stick to, even when things become a little bit chaotic, it can actually be a lifeboat in those
So
kind of
when you were doing
situations.
this, right, did you keep like a planner or like a log of everything that you were doing? Did it like help you? If you did, right, did that help you in that realizing that you're actually improving?
Yes, so to be honest, it was more than those daily habits. Those are non-negotiables that I have. So they are more automatic than anything else. Meaning that I know that on a given day, I'm gonna do between 12 and 15,000 steps per day. I'm gonna have my meals that are centered around proteins. I'm gonna do my journaling and so on. So it's more that there is no real tracker behind that, apart from the fact that a good way for me to assess that I was actually recovering from the bike accident was that I was actually able to go back to the gym and perform my workout with just less adaptations to the training, and just go back to my regular training routine. So there was no actual logs, but just I was feeling that I was getting closer to my baseline because I was able to perform the
I
same
love
workouts
that
as
actually,
before.
Penelope, for you. Like for me in my journey and trying to stick to the regimen that I had set myself to was that I always told myself that I would go to at least one meetup event per week to force myself out of there. And it was very uncomfortable at first, right? And this is kind of like in my phase in my this phase in my life where I was figuring out what who I am truly, after college, and I slowly discovered that like reaching out to people, talking to people was really like I was really good, and I truly enjoyed it. So this was kind of like where my personality was developing at the same time, and I was able to keep up with it and go week by week and meet more and more people, which was very fun and exciting for myself when as I was navigating through there. In terms of my lower back pain, like going through my deadlifting incident, right? I was I mean I was able to notice the problem immediately, and I went to a chiropractor and could only do so much. And then I realized I needed to go to PT, and sticking to the PT schedule for like good 3 to 6 months was very difficult, just forcing myself to go to the PT office and do this because I rather be to be honest, I would have rather been on the couch just eating some potato chips, watching some TV, right? But it's also like for me personally, I'm a stickler and a frugal person when it comes to finances. And the good thing about this was that like if you cancel your appointment, right, you have to pay a fee for that. So I was like, I don't want to pay that fee. I need to go there and get it done. And this is when I was in grad school, so I had no money coming in. I only just saw money leaving my account. So that truly like helped, like served as an incentive for me in terms of like keeping to regimen. I like the idea that you said like keeping up with a journal, like journal entries is like really good. Just and you can go back during like a month later and just see like the transformation that has happened over the month and see where you've come to. And I take pure joy in looking to where how I've transformed over that month or 2 months or whatnot. When it comes to lifting, for me, like I like keeping a track and log of everything and seeing, okay, wow, I was able to bench 135 last month. Now I'm able to bench 155 right now, and seeing that natural progression and that linear exponential curve as I'm getting better and better, right? So that actually serves me, like it helps me a lot to keep the routine going and to be able to push myself to the next level, especially after recovering from an injury, right? You look back like a year later from when you got injured and you're like, damn, I was literally I stopped I wasn't doing anything, and now I've transformed into this better person because of that. Like one thing I've learned along these journeys is that like injuries will come and go always, but how you recover is the biggest part about their journey. And like truly, and this goes with even like when you're not hurt or like there's something traumatic that happens in your life, whatever, like how you recover is what defines you as a person. So I think like I've learned a lot. I was not good at it all, to be honest. Like back at like the beginning of like college and navigating everything, like I would just be lazy, put things to the side, procrastinate, do all that fun stuff. But as like becoming a young working professional, especially coming out of school and grad school and making money, right, was like kind of like a realization that I need to improve myself. So despite me not liking to have to like improve myself, and there's always like I guess like what do you say like of your consciousness saying that no, you go back on the couch, just lay down, do nothing. That's much easier, right? You take the there's always an easier path with that, right?
Yeah, yeah, I completely agree. And it's just because as human being, we just love to do the easiest thing. Just yes, right now it's easier to stay on the couch, but it's not going to be easier in, let's say, like 2 months, 1 year, 2 year, if you're not actually recovered from the injury, because you're not going to be able to do the activities that you love. And so in the end it's going to be harder for you. And even if you look at 20, 30, or even 60 years from now, if you decide every day to stay on the couch instead of going to the gym, then when you're 80 or 90 years old, you're not going to be able to do the hike that you enjoy. You're not going to be to do the cycling tour that you want to do, just because when you were younger, you did not build the habits of going to the gym, eating healthy, and so on. So sometimes just doing the hard thing right now is just making your future life easier. but it requires some strength, and it requires actually to stick to the process. And it's really true, especially when you're recovering from an injury, because it can be really frustrating to just do the work and know for a fact that you're not as good as what you used to be, that you're not able to deadlift as much as what you used to be able to deadlift. But the thing is that by just making incremental progress and working on your lower back pain, working on your deadlift form, and so on, you are actually building the building blocks of what is going to allow you to come back stronger. And so that's why sticking to the plan and just making this commitment to myself that I'm going to work on it every single day, even if it sucks right now. It sucks because I'm not able to just to bench as much as I would like, to deadlift as much as I would like, or just like mentally, I'm not able to go to as many events as I would like because I don't have the mental bandwidth. But by doing the work every single day, I'm training my mind, I'm training my body in order to be able to do it. And this training that is gonna make my life way easier in the future. And in the future, I'm going to cringe at my past self. And it's a good sign. It's a good sign. It means that I've improved a lot. Honestly, when I see some videos that I took at the gym from, I don't know, even 6 months ago, I'm just like, oh my God. What's this thing? It's really, it's really cringe, but it's a really good sign. It means that I improved. If I were looking at the videos and just saying a perfect form, me lifting way heavier and being way more confident, I would actually ask myself some questions about just, did I actually improve anything? Maybe I was too comfortable and I did not make the conscious effort to work on it, and so on. So just cringing at your past self is an amazing way to make
It's
sure that
very
you're actually making
uncomfortable, but it's a
progress.
sign of improvement.
Yes, for sure. Do you film yourself
No,
at the
I
gym?
didn't. For
I
a
don't
short
think that you
period
do,
of
right?
time, I did, and I saw like in terms of like video, making sure that I'm doing the correct form. But I also like get like the fear of like watching myself and cringe. Like I feel very uncomfortable watching myself lift, to be honest. I'm like, oh my god, look at my form, it's so terrible. And I guess this is like me not accepting that issue that I had back then. But then I realized, after speaking to my trainer, I realized the forms that I'm supposed to do and how I'm supposed to lift correctly, which actually helped me lift better and have less of a pain in my lower back actually. All this ties into like a loop, don't you say, Penelope? Right? Like it's the three big things: accepting the problem, um, creating the steps to improve yourself, and then sticking to the plan is the big three, right? And they all feed into each other. I think acceptance is actually one of the hardest steps in the process because it's like, okay, I have to make a change now. The easiest way is always like the most comfortable way that we always want to take as human beings, right? Accepting the problem is kind of a step in the right direction, a step of growth. So I think like acceptance is like the big step, the biggest indication that you are improving. What do you think along the process is like the big thing?
So I agree with you that acceptance is the first and most important one, because yeah, if you do not see the problem, there is no way that you're gonna change it. Sometimes you're just faced with the problem. You have your deadlift issue, you cannot move, so actually there is nothing that you can do apart from noticing the problem. For me, for instance, when I was in New York, I could have kept on living the way I was living without actually having an actual problem, because I was able to go to work. I was able to actually go to the gym and so on. But it was more in the long term, it would have been an issue. So sometimes it's a bit more sneaky in the sense, or right now you don't have to change anything. It's just that when you look 1 year, 2 years, 10 years into the future, your current situation is actually a challenge. and you need to change it. So that was my case for New York. But I would say that maybe the second most important one is to reach out to the right people, because by reaching out to people who are actually experienced in solving the kind of challenge that you are encountering, you actually end up having the right strategies, and it makes it way easier to stick to the plan afterwards. Because for me, there is nothing worse than just working on something without the right strategy, without the right method. And so and not having the results that I want, because what I was doing and what I was persisting on doing was not the right thing. So by reaching out to people, by hiring a lifestyle and fitness coach, by going to see a therapist and so on, I knew that I was going in the right direction, even if I was not seeing the results right away, because I was essentially outsourcing the thinking process. And I knew that the methods that I currently had in place were the right ones, that those were proven methods that had worked for a bunch of people. And so there is no reason, if I do exactly the same thing, that it's not going to work for me. It requires a level of faith. I agree. Taking a leap of faith into the person that you're hiring, that you're seeing, and so on. But when you take this leap of faith, then you can stick to the plan and in the end see the
I
results
love that
that you
you
want.
said this, right? Like, that step of like figuring out what are the strategies to improve, right? Whether it be a professional or even a friend that you see on social media doing really well in their life, everybody wants to help out, right? And one of the hardest steps is actually reaching out to them, right? And people won't be like, I find it personally, before doing this podcast and back when I was living in the West Coast, like I found it very uncomfortable. Like, what happens if this person judges me? What am I supposed to do, right? And this level of uncomfortness. And I was like, okay, screw this. Like everybody wants to see each other improve. And to be honest, people have better things in their lives to worry about instead of like figuring out, oh, why is this person reaching out to me? They're like thinking, they're judging me for who I am. People want to help, and reaching out to people, whether it be your friends or an expert, is like a very big step. The next step, like in regarding this process, or like the hardest step, I think, after acceptance, actually is actually sticking to the routine of this, make sticking to the routine of these strategies, right? I think that's very hard. Like in the first couple of weeks, like it's like I think it's the toughest because you're resetting your circadian rhythm, and that you need to be sticking to the plan. Like, let's say, for example, I start going to the gym, right? For 1 week, you'll be like, oh, over the weekend you recover, and you're like, okay, I can sleep in, and I can go tomorrow. I will tell you from my own experience that it's not the most ideal plan because you keep just delaying the inevitable, right? You're like, okay, the next day I'll do this, and the following day, right? Um, Sticking to a plan is one of the hardest things out there. And I will say, after developing that plan and resetting your circadian rhythm, it just gets easier and easier and easier because you like to see your body improve. And I think that's like one of the hardest stages of this process as well. So, from your own experience, Penelope, do you agree with this?
Yes, yes, totally. And that's why I mentioned for the bike accident, just the fact that I was able to dial down on my habits that were so ingrained in my daily life that it was not a huge effort for me to just keep on going on walks outside, keep on keeping on eating healthy and so on, but just allowing myself to dial down a little bit, to have less intense workouts, to take a little bit more rest. It made it easier for me not to completely just fall out of the wagon,
Wagon?
the wagon. How do you pronounce that? I'm just gonna get wagon. So so by sticking to those habits, but just dialing down a little bit, it made it easier for me to not fall out of the wagon, and actually keep those habits in place, so that when I'm ready to go back to them at maybe 80, 90, 100%, I'm able to do it because I did not actually completely stop it. I kept on going, just dialing down
So
a
when you
little
dial
bit
things down,
on
right?
them.
Like, do you also reset your priorities in navigating this?
Yes, completely. For instance, my priorities were more around resting. And so I dialed down a little bit more actually on everything that was journaling, breathing exercises, um, resting, my mobility exercises. And I was a little bit less dialed down when it comes to just my gym exercises. Um, and everything that required too much for my body. So it was, it's just playing with all those habits that I have and doing a little bit more of the ones that were in the recovery part and a little bit less on the ones that were about challenging my body because I was not able physically to do it. And I had to heal my body first by recovering before I was able to just go a little bit
Got
further
it.
in the challenging
I
part.
love that, Penelope. Like realigning your priorities and you're dialing it down. It's all a process, right? These priorities and your routines are not static, right? They're dynamic. You're able to adjust them a slightly amount, right? But you don't stop doing them. And I think that's a very key point in this part. So I guess we can start wrapping up right now. You want to talk about the three key points that we have discussed today?
Sure. So the first key point is around noticing what's the challenge. Because if you don't notice the challenge, you don't know what to fix. So once you've noticed the challenge, you can reach out to people who can help you, who are professionals in order to just solve this specific challenge. And know that you've reached out to professionals, you can actually lay the steps that could help you recover from your injury, either mental or physical. And it allows you to actually stick to the plan and stick with it long enough, knowing that you've taken a leap of faith into the plans, into the steps that you've laid out. But if you stick with it long enough, you can actually recover from your injury and even maybe get back stronger because you actually have you've done the groundwork that allows you to build on it and maybe have a stronger deadlift, maybe be stronger mentally or being able to go on
Right?
a
All
bike
these
race or
processes
whatever.
are helped to make you prosper, right? To be better in life. And I think that's like the biggest thing to take out of this, right? It's not to get back to the same level, it's to improve to the next level. And I think that's like a whole journey in itself. So thank you so much for listening us to us guys. Look forward to seeing you next week. Bye.
Thank you. Bye.